Hi, in the background here you can see a rig that I've set up for flattening off a large piece of timber which is far too big to go over the plane. So I'm flattening it off with the router and a milling bit for the router. So I'll pick up the camera now, sorry if it gets a bit wobbly, but I'll just show you around and explain a bit how I set it up. It's not massively complicated, but quite a useful way of flattening down something that's too big to go over a jointer thicknesser. You could use this to flatten down a tabletop, for example. If you had an old table, maybe an old pine table that's been damaged or has just warped too much to pull it back into shape, this would be a good way of flattening it down. So I'm going to pick up the camera now and just show you around. So first of all, the workpiece needs to obviously be stable, and that's achieved by putting it up on blocks and screwing the blocks into the end. Only on this end though, actually on this end it's just resting on a block because it's so heavy it's not going to move anywhere. So then you've got the rails, this one and this one. The important thing with those is that they are parallel with each other, and the way I did that was just by eye using winding sticks. So this and this one up here, those are the winding sticks, and what you do is you put them on and then you get your eye right down and you have a look and you'll see whether they're pretty much parallel. It's not going to be absolutely perfect, but to be honest, it doesn't matter. It will never show in the final product. This is probably going to be turned into some sort of table. I think I'll make some legs to go underneath it. Nice, you can see it's a slice from the side of a trunk from an ash tree. So once these are parallel, I then lifted the workpiece to fit in between them, so that it wasn't standing proud of them, but was sort of a millimetre under, to obviously more, because the workpiece is not flat, so you're never going to get a millimetre under all the way. So just make sure it's not sticking up, so that the sled can slide nicely on it, which I'll talk about. I'll just get rid of these sticks. So this is the sled I built very quickly, quick and dirty. It's just a piece of 12mm marine ply. That's just a piece of 18mm pine panel on its edge to keep it flat. And then this piece is just here so that the router fits in like this. It's not massively snug. It can move around, but it doesn't matter. It just means that it's easy to slide it back and forth, and then obviously I'll show you the bit I've got under there, which is just I think that's a 30mm milling bit, and then I just lowered it down to cut this channel, and that's it. So I've put a handle on here to pull the sled. On this end, if you can see under there, I've got a stop block, but it's only as a rough guide. It doesn't matter how the sled sits on the rails. I just did that really to try and keep it a little bit even in the middle. So the way that you do it is that you switch on the router. I've got a fair amount of dust collection here. That one down the end is on the chip extractor, just to get the worst of it out of the way. You turn on the router, you take a pass, zip, zip, come back, and then I just pull. And when you're actually cutting material off the workpiece, you can see very clearly in the channel, you can see where you've cut. So as long as you don't completely hide the cut you've made under this side, then you're going to overlap slightly. It's self-explanatory once you start doing it. So pull the sled over a bit, take another cut, zip, and then just repeat. And when you get to the end, just pull the whole thing back, or you could start from that end, it makes no difference. And then I'm using this fine adjuster on the router. So pop it on the top, twist it down a couple of turns and repeat. And eventually you'll end up with a completely flat workpiece, or it will be as flat as you manage to get the rails parallel to each other, if you understand what I mean. But it'll be pretty good, and then it'll just be a case of sanding it down. You can see I've scribbled all over it because I took a few passes and then decided that actually the workpiece wasn't quite in the right position. It was far too low down at this end, so I raised this end up. And so what I've done is I've scribbled on the bits that had already been routed, just so that I know that I've got them again, so that I know that it's finished. So that's that really, and yeah. Other than that, the rails are just up on blocks, clamped to the table, and that's it. And that'll be quite a simple way of flattening an object that's far too large to go on the planer. And if you were going to do this on a table top, you could even attach these, you know, if you screwed some blocks to the underside of the tabletop, you could attach the rails onto those blocks. You could just screw them on. You wouldn't need to have it, you know, standing on anything. You could just use the structure of the table itself. Obviously you'd get a few screw holes in the underside of the tabletop, but that would be nothing really compared to being able to have a nice smooth flat tabletop. So that's that. Thanks for watching. Again, post any comments if you want to know more about it. Post any comments, post questions in the comments. All right, brilliant. Thanks for watching. Bye.